Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. With me, my good friend and special guest, Russ Cook with Russ Cook & Associates in Brentwood, Tennessee. Russ is a board-certified estate planning attorney, and that's all he does is estate planning. It's his specialty, and he's been doing it for 30 years. Believe me, I've been working with Russ for many, many years, and that's one of the areas when working with clients, been very, very pleased with the result. And it's a combination of things, doing the estate planning up front in terms of, you know, when it comes to estate planning, our job, basically, as we do these kind of plans, is to look into the future. That's part of it. All right, to give you really good documents that are going to do exactly what you need them to do and protect you in the way that you expect to be protected. But it's also about looking to the future. So when you make a choice, just like with the financial planning I talked about, making that choice and show you what that looks like in the future to make sure that's the right choice. And you know, if you do this thing, is going to create this thing, and is that okay? So these trade-offs and choices. So again, I'm going to offer this out again. First 10 callers to my office, 376-5325. I think I know the number, right? 376-5325. Tessa's standing by to get your information, get you a free comprehensive plan, show you your financial future based on the things you're doing today, make sure you're able to attain and maintain your standard of living and quality of life, show you what hidden risk time bombs might be in there that, you know, are not showing up right now because the market's doing so well. But what happens when it turns? What happens when we hit that bear market? Are you going to be protected then? Are you, in fact, going to be able to weather that without worry? We'll show you that, and also that's part of the investment analysis piece of that. We cover tax planning. We talk about Social Security, Medicare, your health care costs in retirement. We get into, on the investment side, we dig down into your current investments and show you if there's any little hidden minefields in there that could potentially add, be very risky for you in today's environment. So all of that is part of the plan. And in addition, estate planning, of course. So if you want to bring in your estate planning documents, we can have Russ come in and visit with us as well. You can have a joint meeting with the two of us in my office. Again, all at no charge for the first 10 callers, 615-376-5325. And when you come in to see me, I'll give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. How's that? So this has been it's been a great show here. There's a lot of information we've shared with you. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope you'll join us here each and every week on the Retirement Report. Are you at risk for a 50% tax penalty? Here is money tip number 98. If you have an IRA, 401k, TSP, or other traditional retirement account, the IRS requires you must withdraw a minimum distribution at age 7.5 or pay a 50% tax penalty. For example, $500,000 in retirement accounts, your RMD would be $18,248. Miss the deadline, the penalty is over $9,000 plus the tax. It's not just what you make, it's what you keep. Don't pay penalties to the IRS.
The time has come to enjoy your golden years, but have you saved enough?
I'm Hank Parrott. Don't just survive in retirement, thrive. Call me today at Estate and Financial Strategies or tune in for the Retirement Report each and every weekend on News Channel 5+. Are you at risk for a 50% tax penalty? Here is money tip number 98. If you have an IRA, 401k, TSP, or other traditional retirement account, the IRS requires you must withdraw a minimum distribution at age 7.5 or pay a 50% tax penalty. For example, $500,000 in retirement accounts, your RMD would be $18,248. Miss the deadline, the penalty is over $9,000 plus the tax. It's not just what you make, it's what you keep. Don't pay penalties to the IRS. When could paying more tax mean paying less tax? Here is money tip number 54. With tax rate at historic lows, consider a Roth conversion. Paying 12% tax today rather than possibly paying 22% or more later? On $500,000 in retirement accounts, that would be a $50,000 tax savings. $50,000 that stays in your pocket, not theirs. Tax deferred is good, tax free even better. Want to know more? Check out the Retirement Report on News Channel 5+. Are you at risk for a 50% tax penalty? Here is money tip number 98. If you have an IRA, 401k, TSP, or other traditional retirement account, the IRS requires you must withdraw a minimum distribution at age 7.5 or pay a 50% tax penalty. For example, $500,000 in retirement accounts, your RMD would be $18,248. Miss the deadline, the penalty is over $9,000 plus the tax. It's not just what you make, it's what you keep. Don't pay penalties to the IRS.
I'm Joe Adams. I'm a pharmacist that knows the pain of losing their child to an opiate overdose. If you think it can't happen to your family, think again. To learn more, visit the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy at nabp.pharmacy.
Are you getting love letters from the IRS? G'day, I'm Dr. Friday. Whether you have a different opinion with Uncle Sam or you just can't pay right now, I can help you solve your tax problems. I'm an enrolled agent, which just means I'm licensed by the IRS to represent you. I'm a shield between you and the Internal Revenue Service. I'm on your side. To learn more about what I can do for you, call the number on the screen or just visit me at drfriday.com.
From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Takis McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour.
Welcome to Takis McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour, where we explore the many issues that arise due to aging, disability, and unexpected illness. I'm your co-host, Tim Takis, and today we're talking about the major problem of opioids and opioid addictions.
And I'm Barbara McGinnis. We hear about the opioid crisis in the news all the time, and we wonder, how does that affect our seniors? Not just opioid addictions, but other addictions. And here with us this morning to start the conversation, we're going to talk with Special Agent Thomas Farmer. And you have a really long title: Special Agent in charge of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and Director of the Tennessee Dangerous Drug Task Force. Sounds very impressive. Welcome. Some people don't even realize that they've been prescribed an opioid. Can you just start by telling us what they are? What are some common drugs that we interact with?
Right. Some of the most common that most people will be familiar with would be a hydrocodone. And it also happens to be one of the most commonly abused or diverted. And the more of those that are prescribed or dispensed obviously increases the risk for potential for diversion. So you have hydrocodone, Percocets, OxyContin, oxycodone. The list could go on and on, all the way up to some semi-synthetic opioids. And probably the most severe of those, or the strongest of those, would be what we're seeing a lot of issues with is fentanyl.
Mm-hmm. Oh. All right, and so as I understand, we were talking just before we came on, is the pathway for people to get on these is mostly they're prescribed them for pain management?
It wouldn't probably start with the pain management all the way up to that level, but it could be an injury. It could be the thing with opioids is that's why it affects and impacts so many individuals, because one, we have to know the history of that individual, or that person needs to know their family's history in terms of addiction. Right. But yes, it could have begun with an injury. It could have been with a simple injury where an opioid is prescribed, or it could just be someone taking the advice. They have a headache, or they have something, or something's hurting, and they take the advice of a family member or a friend, or whom they think is a friend, and so, here, take this, it's okay, which is unfortunately a very common method for diversion.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and as a result of this, the United States is like #1 in the world in opioid use?
Unfortunately, we are #1 in the world by a long way. The most prescribed opioid, according to the International Narcotics Control Board of 2015 projections for 2017 projections, consumption projections, yes, hydrocodone with acetaminophen would be the #1 prescribed in the world, and the United States overshadows every other country in consumption. In all hydrocodone, and then if you get to all opioid use, it's somewhere estimated between 50 and 80% of the world's production of opioids. The most commonly used, oxycodone, hydrocodone, oxymorphone, all the way down to methadone. we would consume between 50 and 80% of the world's productions.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow. So the reason we're at the top of the list, which is maybe a bad list to be on, or at least is because of prescribing practices, it sounds like. Is that right?
Combination prescribing practices, obviously, we're learning a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's the makings of the perfect storm, which is, unfortunately, we have the pharmaceutical industry that has produced a wide variety of medications that have a lot of applications and a lot of use. Production capabilities are extremely high. Marketing, unfortunately, the TV, we get a lot of information from who we are, what we're prescribed, and so it's a perfect storm. Unfortunately, a lot of information, and then we do have bad prescribing. And honestly, the medical industry, or the healthcare industry, probably didn't have all of the accurate information. And then thirdly, how the methods of which we obtain those. Price, availability, perception of risk, and public attitude are that is the makings for a perfect storm. Yeah. And when you've got healthcare paying for those prescriptions, and so you have a means to achieve those or obtain those without necessarily any high cost to you. Right. All of those combining make a perfect storm.
Right.
Storm.
So let's talk about Tennessee. So where does Tennessee rank in the United States and opioid use?
Unfortunately, if you look at the United States, and the United States is number 1 in the world by a long shot. Tennessee, at the last time I looked at the numbers, it looks like we're number 4 on prescribed opioids for the nation per capita. So I want to preface that by saying Tennessee's made a lot of progress. We really have in the last several years. Made a lot of progress. We're making progress. But one thing that we have to remind ourselves is, even though we're making a lot of progress and our problem seems so high, and it is, the ceiling was very high to begin with. So we have a much farther trip, a much longer road to go than maybe some of the other states. So the other is quite frankly, law enforcement's it's been a learning curve for me too, teaming up with, this is not only a public safety issue, it's a public health issue. Yeah. And we have to be very cautious and careful not to move too fast. Legislation we could curb the amounts that could be prescribed, or we could wave a magic wand and say, this is going to be the new levels. Unfortunately, we have a lot of folks that are way above those levels, and so we have to have the resources that are in place to treat those and offer treatment, offer prevention, and then offer enforcement and balance all of those in a comprehensive method. Yeah.
So what would you say, what are the largest age groups that have been affected by this?
That's a moving target.
Okay.
Obviously, those that are most common are going to be the ones that are taking the chances for riskier behavior. And so, yes, our younger groups, up to the 18 to 26 and then up. But this, again, is another category where we're changing the trend. And so that is the areas where we have focused a lot of efforts, and I'm saying we, the state, health, mental health, and substance abuse and law enforcement, trying to go after those, because that's also going to be the potential future. So we have to look at the youth to make sure that we stop this cycle of addiction and abuse, and then we have to look at those most affected age groups, which are going to be 14 all the way up to 34, and then we already have a highly addicted group, and we have to consider our elderly.
So are you seeing a lot of elderly now?
Absolutely. There's no question, and it may be just a misconception or a misinformation. They don't realize that they suffer from it. We do get those calls from the grandchildren or the children saying, my mother, my father, my grandfather, he's 70, 80 years old. He's taken all of his medication, and all of a sudden he thinks that we've done something, that we're being cruel to him, and we won't get him any more medication. Well, he may have a problem.
Yeah. So, in particular, what are the things that we're doing in Tennessee, in particular, to combat this crisis?
I think implementing first a comprehensive approach at it, balancing health, safety, mental health, and looking at all of those elements. We have to look at prevention. We have to consider and remember prevention. We can treat. We have to look at treatment. I think from a law enforcement, my side of it, we hear all the time, well, you're not going to arrest your way out of it. Trust me, law enforcement knows that. We coined that phrase a long time ago. But I don't want to give the misconception. Let's not go too far with that. Law enforcement has to be and is an important element of this. You have to have the balance. You have to have a comprehensive. So you have to have characterized as the carrot and the stick in this for long-term solutions. Implementing guidelines to educate. I think the Department of Health and Legislature did a good job with implementing some guidelines, chronic pain guidelines. We continue those to educate prescribers, to inform them. The Controlled Substance Monitoring Database was a huge asset just to get the information back to those prescribers, and many of them just were not aware of the levels or how they compared to their peers.
Okay, I think, are we going to put your contact information up? We're going to put that up really quick. 423-752-1479. Special Agent Farmer, thanks for being here. And so stay with us. When we return, in addition to opioids, we will be discussing other drug and alcohol addictions that affect seniors. Don't go away.
This is a Storm 5 weather update. For weather on the go, download the Storm Shield app.
Hi everyone, with your News Channel 5 Storm 5 weather update here on the Plus. I'm meteorologist Henry Rothenberg. Radar will be active once again in the afternoon time frame. We're going to see more of those scattered showers and thunderstorms firing up. Much of the morning time, while you can't rule out an isolated storm, should remain quiet and muggy out there under a mostly cloudy sky. Here's a look at temperatures across the region at this hour. It is a mild start out there. Clouds have helped to keep that warm air intact through the overnight, and that continues throughout your Friday morning as well. Currently at Nashville International Airport, this is the hourly observation. Climbing to 90 today, above average. It will be humid. We still have remnants of Gordon around. That's why the rain chances are so high, as well as the humid air mass in place. That continues through the weekend. Unsettled weather, though, as far as the pattern goes into next week, with highs dropping into the 80s.
There is no single answer to securing your financial future. You need to look at it from every side. Get dependable advice you can count on every week with the Retirement Report on News Channel 5 Plus. Experts on finance, taxes, and the legal system are ready to answer your questions. Don't wait to make a plan for your money. The Retirement Report, Friday mornings at 8 and at these encore times on News Channel 5 Plus.
You know what slow's good for? Pot roast. Not so much for web browsing, streaming, or posting. To get the most out of the internet, you need crazy fast speed. Introducing Viasat Fast for All Home Internet. It's up to 10 times faster than DSL. And with up to 50 meg connection speeds, unlimited data, and reliable Wi-Fi, binge watching, downloading, browsing, and working anywhere on any device has never been faster. Call Viasat today at 1-888-854-7573 and we'll guarantee your price for 2 full years. Faster internet is here for your home or your business. And if you call now, our plans start as low as $50 per month. Plus, you get free standard installation that's fast and easy. Go to getviasat.com or call 1-888-854-7573 to sign up today or visit your local Viasat retailer. Viasat, Fast for All is here.
Hansi Law got Roy $324,000 when he was hurt.
Money he needs, money he deserves. Hansi Law wins.
Call 615-244-4321.
Allegations of sexual assaults on a major college campus.
I was walking around campus, honestly terrified.
What these college students say happened to them will shock you.
I hate the way they treated me.
Next, Inside Edition.
Today at 4:30 on News Channel 5.
Welcome back to Take Us McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour. I'm Barbara McGinnis, where we always talk about the issues that relate to aging, chronic conditions, and unexpected illness. In today's episode, we're talking about the opioid crisis and how it affects our seniors.
And I'm Tim Takis. When you think about addiction, oftentimes you don't picture a senior citizen. However, addiction knows no age. Joining us is Tricia Benitez, a treatment specialist with Addiction Campuses, to speak specifically about the rise of addiction in older adults. Welcome, Tricia.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim.
Tell us a little bit about the statistics on substance abuse disorders among people older than 50.
As we all know, I mean, addiction is not a illness that is going to subject itself to one demographic or the other. And roughly, we're seeing that about 2.5 million elders are suffering with addiction these days. It's quite alarming.
How many did you say? 2.5 million?
Yes, unfortunately, 2.5 million. Not 1,000, not 100 million.
100.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we are talking about opioids and illicit drugs, but what about alcohol? Alcohol plays a part, right?
Alcohol plays a huge part. So as people get older, their life does change. They may retire, which can also affect their use. It can have a more onset of use. For instance, I'm going to celebrate my retirement by having a few drinks, right? Well, that may be okay for a moment. However, it can easily turn into a snowball effect and be devastating later on if not treated or addressed by, hopefully, the family.
It can become a lifestyle. You know, we're not waiting for the evening cocktail. It's 5 o'clock somewhere all the time.
Sadly,
right?
That's so true, because this is a primary reward of the midbrain. So they're spiking their dopamine, they're feeling good, they're balancing everything out, and that's how they've created their new version of normalcy. So you're completely right.
Yeah.
So when people age, how does their definition of alcohol use and drug use change?
So
and why is that important?
Sure, thanks. That's a great question. So the actual definition doesn't necessarily change. It's their perception of how it changes, or perception of what they find to be okay, and their family kind of allows it because, oh, well, Grandma Jane's 85 years old. She can do whatever she wants, right? And that's not necessarily okay, because this could actually ensue a very catastrophic remainder of her life. So it's things that take place would be, for instance, the retirement. Things such as a loss of a loved one, loss of income from that said job. Things of this can be very devastating for our elder population that some of us may not even be aware of quite yet.
Well, I think what we see some of is that not only is it just a lifestyle change, but it's a little bit of self-medicating. It's a little bit more acceptable and available. The alcohol, you know, is a little bit more acceptable and a little bit more available than some of the other drugs. But let's talk about some of the other drugs. What about older people and cocaine, marijuana, other illicit drugs? Any statistics on that?
So we don't have any exactly right in front of us to give a direct number. However, the use of people of our older generation using things like cocaine and Molly or MDMA, things like that, that's a more rare occasion. Mostly it's the benzodiazepines, it's alcohol, it is opioids because of the chronic pain, the availability of them getting prescribed. So all of those things come into play. So really not so much, honestly, with what we're seeing on a personal level as far as cocaine or illicit drugs like that.
So of an older person, what's a typical profile, you know, of someone that you're seeing in your practice?
So we get phone calls all the time about people from anywhere from juveniles to our elder, and we take each one of those case by case, right? So not every two people call in with the same problem or the same concerns or the same desires of an outcome, but we have to take those and address them appropriately and help them in best way we can. Most of the time, the older phone calls that I get personally are typically a derivative of alcohol and opiates most of the time, and a little bit of benzos, but not as much as you would think.
So we're a lot of prescription drug abuse.
It's a lot of prescription drug abuse, and I think a big issue with that is is that the family may not be educated enough at times to understand how these medications should be dispensed to their loved one, that they need to be out of their reach, and if they get to a place where they have to have a caretaker in the home, how educated is the caretaker on counting pills, on educating the family of when have they taken their last medication, et cetera, et cetera.
So medication mismanagement in some ways is what that is, you know, which we see a lot in our practice, you know, and we don't often think of it as like opioid or whatever, but darn near anything,
right?
You know, that they may be prescribed. Now, what about medical marijuana? Are we seeing any of that in Tennessee?
So, personally, thus far in my field, I have not run into too many cases of that. Right. However, the question gets brought up, and you know, that's a personal decision between a patient and their client. At Addiction Campuses, our goal is to help somebody who is suffering with addiction from something that is altering their everyday life. So that's our main goal with that.
Right.
Right. I mean, that really becomes the point of when are we taking these medicines and when is it impacting our ability to function. And it is, and for a senior, we're not necessarily talking about job function, but we may still be talking about driving. We still may be talking about ADLs and safe living.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. We're talking about, can your grandmother get herself from her bedside to her restroom?
Right.
Can she do this alone? Does she bump into walls? Because heaven forbid she takes one of these medications, and that could easily be a substance misuse, correct?
Right.
If she becomes impaired,
she becomes impaired.
She falls, something bad happens to her.
She falls, she could suffer a stroke. The laundry list goes on and on. So we have got to really be aware of these things in our elders.
So is it, because of age, is it ever acceptable to start, you know, making these, blurring the line about when is it an addiction, when is it a problem?
So, you know, I get a lot of that is asked to me in a funny way, in a funny question, because people say, well, my grandmother or grandfather they've gotten this old in age, let them do whatever they want. However, by allowing that type of behavior, you're not just hurting your grandmother. It will and can cause conflict between the remainder of the family. For instance, if I didn't want you to let grandmother eat that or use that or take that, and you do because she's earned her willing right, that can cause conflict. So again, that goes back to addiction is a family disease. It's a family problem. It's not a singular issue by any means. Okay,
so Tricia, let's switch gears just slightly.
Okay.
We've just got about a minute or so.
Sure.
Is that okay? So you provide treatment to everybody, but particularly older people that need help. How is treatment funded? You know, how does if an older person calls you and needs help, who pays for that?
Well, when someone calls us, like I said, every call is case by case.
Right.
And we take that very seriously, and we work with the family, we work with them to find out what are their needs, what treatment modalities do they need. We figure out if one of our facilities is going to be the most appropriate for that person. Then we go from there and just figure out what type of insurance they do have or don't have.
Right. Does Medicare cover this?
Medicare.
Do you know?
Medicare does cover some parts of addiction treatment. Yes,
Gotcha.
It does. So we have to work with the family with insurance. It's a lot of working parts. It's not just a box that you can check and say, perfect, you're in. It's a lot of understanding where they are, what's going on, what they need, and how to help
we do
them.
have your contact information, so if people wanted to know more about how to talk to you or one of your other counselors, Addiction Campuses Helpline, 1-888-614-2251. I might need new glasses. And thank you.
Thank you, coming.
Tricia. Thank you for coming.
Thank you both for having us.
We're going to talk about prescription safety when we come back. Stay tuned.
Life is full of changes and surprises. When it's time to move, get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate and close in as little as 21 days. So you can move onto the next chapter of your life. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today.
This is a Talk of the Town Extra.
I'm Tawanda Coleman. There are over 100 different types of nerve pain or neuropathy, most of which are never properly diagnosed and can lead to more severe conditions. I'm here with Dr. Christopher Richards from Advanced Medical of Nashville to share an inspiring story from a patient. Welcome, doctor.
Thanks for having me.
You've been successfully treating neuropathy for years. What are some of the causes of it?
Well, for years, many people were told that they can't have neuropathy because they're not diabetic, and that's just not true. We've treated patients because of diabetes, blood flow issues, surgery, chemotherapy, and even a lot of medications out there that are now causing it. So these people are taking it for one issue, and it's giving them another issue because of it.
You recently had a patient get out of her wheelchair and start walking thanks to your treatments.
Yes.
Tell us that story.
Well, she started out for years having pain, suffering, numbness, all of this stuff, and like many neuropathy patients, she became dependent on this wheelchair to get around all day. But after only 5 weeks of treatment, she is out of her wheelchair and she doesn't want to stop there. So we set up new goals and she wants to get back to actually regaining her life and getting back to doing everything she loves in life again.
That is amazing. You have given so many people who may be suffering from neuropathy a lot of hope. I hope you got a special offer for those folks.
I do. Anybody at home, if you're suffering from neuropathy and you're tired of suffering, you need to call our office now. The first 30 people will receive a free consultation along with a copy of my new book.
Fantastic. That's 30 this time too, folks. So for more information, visit their website. It's advancedmedicaltn.com or contact the number you see on the screen, 615-645-3126.
I'm Michael Ponce. When the insurance company tries to pay you less, I fight to win you more.
Ponce Law wins. Call 615-244-4321.
This is storm season.
This time of year, it's extremely important to be weather alert.
Download Storm 5's Storm Shield app and get alerts for your exact location.
Stay safe, informed, and connected everywhere you go.
Stay connected to the Storm 5 weather team. There is no safer place in a storm.
Life is full of changes and surprises. When it's time to move, get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate and close in as little as 21 days. So you can move onto the next chapter of your life. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today.
Welcome back to Takis McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour, where we explore the many issues that arise due to aging, unexpected disability, and illness. I'm your host, Tim Takis, and today we are talking about the topic of opioids and how this crisis, as well as other addictions, impacts seniors.
I'm Barbara McGinnis, your co-host, and in this segment, we're going to be talking with Liz Johnson, who's the Executive Director of the Anti-Drug Coalition in Sumner County, and she's going to be telling us about prescription safety. How do we protect ourselves, perhaps, or an elder that is on multiple medications? And there is this thing called unintentional drug prescriber, or something like a drug dealer.
Yeah.
An accidental drug dealer. So that's a big deal, right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about what is an accidental drug dealer and how do we protect from that?
Sure. So there is a campaign called Count It, Lock It, Drop It, and it was
I'm
developed.
sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry, Count It, Lock It, Drop It.
Count it, lock it, drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was actually developed in Coffee County at their anti-drug coalition.
Wow.
And their tagline is "Don't be an accidental drug dealer." And the way that someone can protect themselves, so the first thing you have to do is you have to ask yourself some questions, because really anybody at any age, if you have prescription medications in your home, can be an accidental drug dealer. And really there's some questions that you can ask yourself. So do you have prescription pain medications or any prescription drugs in your home?
Right, number one.
Number one, do you have children or teenagers in your home?
Number two.
Do you have visitors in your home?
Yes.
Have you ever shared your medications with anybody, family or friend? If you can answer yes to any of those questions, you are at risk for being an accidental drug dealer.
Okay, so meaning the person, like the older person, says, "Here, have a have a pill.
Sure, I had surgery and I've got some extra medications left over, and I know you if you have a back injury or back, oh, my back hurts, here I have some extra medication, and then go and share it, because a lot of times people think that that's an okay thing to do, to share their medications.
Like social use of medication.
Exactly. So the best way that somebody can prevent themselves from becoming an accidental drug dealer is to properly store their medications, and one way to do that is to lock up medications. A lot of people think that just putting them in a cabinet in their bathroom, or putting them where people wouldn't think to look, is safe, and that's normal. I mean, a lot of people think that that's the way to do it, but really having them locked up and stored away is the absolute safest way to keep your medications from being at risk of being taken.
Yeah, so that works if you're worried about somebody just taking your medicines. That doesn't keep you from being the sharer, the helper.
Correct. So that really just comes with education and talking to people about the risks of sharing those medications, and the fact that people can really easily become addicted to these medications without knowing it. So education is a big piece of that.
So a drug safety cabinet. Okay, so first of all, you said, how do you lock them up or whatever it is, and you're talking about putting them in a medicine cabinet, and that doesn't sound like the right place to put them.
So, things that are not necessarily opioids or prescription drugs that have a high risk of people become addicted to, I think those are okay things to keep in a regular medicine cabinet. But talking about opioid pain medications, they absolutely need to be locked up and stored away out of reach of children, out of reach of visitors that could potentially divert those medications. So it's really important to keep them locked up.
Okay. And what's a drug safety cabinet?
So a drug safety cabinet, actually I have one here, is it's just a lockable cabinet that you can put your medications in, and they do have keys.
Yeah, so so we can see. You were going like this.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's just a lockable cabinet that has a key to it, and then they're stored in there, and then you can. There also have some that have combinations. There's quite a few different options, but the ones that we actually give away to residents at no cost to the residents in Sumner County are these.
Are these?
They do have they just have a key, and you can store them. You can actually mount them in a cabinet if you'd like.
So how many of those do you have on like in a warehouse?
No, so they're actually in our office. We have a big storage
because
facility.
everybody, after this airs, everybody's going to be calling you and asking for one of these.
I hope so. I really do. So we purchase them with grant dollars that we have from the state, and we, at this point, I think we probably have 150 in our office, but we have the capability to hold quite a few. So
you can get like 10,000?
I don't know about 10,000, but I'll get there. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
But really, other drug coalitions across the state.
I'm kind of serious about this because we want this. People need to know about this stuff.
Sure, absolutely, and really, drug coalitions across the state, most of them, there's 43, they all house these and stock them and give them out to their community members as well. So I hope they all do call.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, and then I guess another part of this is how to dispose of medications that are either expired or, maybe you're just done with it,
Yeah, so the DEA does 2 National Drug Take Back Days a year. There's one in the spring, and then there's one coming up again in October. And that is a way that people can we really encourage, it's a campaign to get everybody to clean out their cabinets and get everything out at one time. If people have medications that they would like to get rid of throughout the year, there are different permanent drop boxes. Most of them are housed in law enforcement agencies. In our county, we have 7 permanent boxes. Walgreens, a lot of different pharmacies are carrying them or holding them now. So those are ways that people can then, when they're done with them, just go drop them off and be done with them, get them out of the community, out of
or they've expired medicines that you have to you don't want to just hold on to.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Okay. So you're Sumner County Anti-Drug Coalition.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about overdoses in Sumner County. Are they common, uncommon? Are they primarily teenagers popping pills, or tell us about the statistics on that.
Sure. So the numbers are really alarming with prescription drug overdoses, and they are on the rise for sure. And it doesn't affect just teenagers anymore. It's affecting all demographics. It's affecting all ages. And it's that those numbers are just continuing to rise. And I believe in 2015 there were 623 reported inpatient and outpatient visits just for opioid overdoses, and then 21 overdose deaths in 2016. Now, in speaking with law enforcement, these numbers have easily doubled since then.
In 2 years, less than 2 years.
Absolutely, and it's scary. And some of them are accidental overdoses that either seniors have. And that actually is a conversation that I had with Gallatin Police Department recently about having those accidental overdoses. They're seeing more and more of those, of people taking too many medications at one time, or not keeping track of when they've taken their medication. So it's not just teenagers popping pills. It's really
which we've learned already that a lot of older people are doing the same thing.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's
so for opioid overdoses. There's a new medicine that will help reverse or counteract the effect. Who can use it, and where is it? Is it just in the ERs?
No. So naloxone is the generic name, but Narcan is what is well known now. And now emergency responders have it. Law enforcement is now carrying it. And the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services now has a grant to get Narcan to lay people across the state. Anybody who would like to carry it, who has a family member who's at risk, elderly people who are concerned that maybe they have a friend. Really anybody. And there's a short training online that the Tennessee Department of Health has put together, and then they are able to carry naloxone, and then the Narcan is the brand.
Not a new drug.
Right. Yeah. So and it's very simple to use. It's a nasal spray, and really it has saved many lives, and it really is available. That would like to have it available to anybody who wants it. That's really the goal.
Wow.
Anybody who wants it, meaning members of the lay people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we have trained. I have some in my office that if someone comes to me and says, I have my daughter's at risk. She's using opiate medication, or I can
they should
train
call
that
you
person.
too?
They can, absolutely.
Okay.
Please
Get some Narcan.
Yeah. They're also other coalitions across the state have it as well, and and there's a whole list of them, and there are ways that people can contact them if they're not right here.
Okay, so let's put your contact information up and tell us a little bit about the work of the Sumner County Anti-Drug Coalition.
Sure. So we don't just focus on the opioid crisis. That's a big topic right now, but we also do underage drinking initiatives. We focus on getting people off of tobacco, stop using tobacco, those sorts of things. So
great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot.
And so sometimes people have an injury or have had a procedure where pain management is needed. So how is the opioid crisis affecting the way patients manage their pain? Stay with us and we'll talk about that when we return.
This is a Storm 5 weather update. For weather on the go, download the Storm Shield app.
Hi everyone, with your News Channel 5 Storm 5 weather update here on the Plus. I'm meteorologist Henry Rothenberg. Radar will be active once again in the afternoon time frame. We're going to see more of those scattered showers and thunderstorms firing up. Much of the morning time, while you can't rule out an isolated storm, should remain quiet and muggy out there under a mostly cloudy sky. Here's a look at temperatures across the region at this hour. It is a mild start out there. Clouds have helped to keep that warm air intact through the overnight, and that continues throughout your Friday morning as well. Currently at Nashville International Airport, this is the hourly observation. Climbing to 90 today, above average. It will be humid. We still have remnants of Gordon around. That's why the rain chances are so high, as well as the humid air mass in place. That continues through the weekend. Unsettled weather, though, as far as the pattern goes into next week, with highs dropping into the 80s.
You know what slow's good for? Pot roast. Not so much for web browsing, streaming, or posting. To get the most out of the internet, you need crazy fast speed. Introducing Viasat Fast for All Home Internet. It's up to 10 times faster than DSL. And with up to 50 meg connection speeds, unlimited data, and reliable Wi-Fi, binge watching, downloading, browsing, and working anywhere on any device has never been faster. Call Viasat today at 1-888-854-7573 and we'll guarantee your price for 2 full years. Faster internet is here for your home or your business. And if you call now, our plans start as low as $50 per month. Plus, you get free standard installation that's fast and easy. Go to getviasat.com or call 1-888-854-7573 to sign up today, or visit your local Viasat retailer. Viasat, Fast for All is here.